Nettles live stream yesterday, even though you couldn't be on ours Wednesday. I see how it is. You're playing favorites, but that's okay. I forgive you. It's Christmas time. It's the season of forgiving. Oh wait, no, it's the season of giving. Never mind. Hey, Lady Thistle. This is John 4. This is Friday. This will be the last live stream until a week from today, which would be next Friday.
No, I'm taking off. Let's make it Wednesday the 3rd.
The 3rd, okay.
2024.
Yep. The next time we will talk to you will
We'll
be
see you next year.
So see you next year. Like I said, Lizzie, anytime that you want to jump in, if you can, if you're there. But other than that, we will start with the brains of the operation. He will say what he saw in the chapter, and then I actually dressed for the chapter today with my Stark shirt.
My Jon shirt.
There you go. I mean, I had a feeling that it was going to be N plus A equals J, so I was like, "Ooh, I found my Stark shirt got washed, and I'm happy." So
his true name, Stark.
Exactly, without a doubt, his true name.
All right, we're waving back at you guys. All right, Storm 30, Jon 4, The Climb. But there's no Chaos is the Ladder speech in this one. Ghost was gone when the wildlings led their horses from the cave. Did he understand about Castle Black? Jon took a breath of the crisp morning air and allowed himself to hope. The eastern sky was pink near the horizon and pale gray higher up. The sword of the morning still hung in the south, the bright white star at its hilt blazing like a diamond in the dawn. But the blacks and grays of the dark forest were turning once again to greens and golds, reds and russets. And above the soldier pines and oaks and ash and sentinels stood the wall, the ice pale and glimmering beneath the dust and dirt that pocked its surface.
Sword of Morning. That is the second or third reference in a Jon chapter.
It's the second. I think it's the second constellation reference in a Jon chapter, and I don't think there's a single constellation reference anywhere else. Mother One says, "You will my birthday on the 30th." Oh, we'll miss
She's talking about live stream.
Miss. I knew she was going to say miss. Sorry about
that. Hey, what I might do is, if I can get a hold of Lizzie, we might do a theory video on Mother Runar's birthday to celebrate it. And before I forget, because we know how freaking scatterbrained I am, yesterday morning I had the stitches taken out of my. I can do it in this chapter. Football shape cut out that they sewed up. And they when they take that off, they test the outside edges of what they cut off, and there was no cancer in the outside edges of it. So as of right now, I am cancer free, and I am extremely happy. So I had a good day yesterday. I'm having a good day today. So just to give you a heads up. Sorry about that.
Oh, I noticed that he compares the sword to a diamond in the dawn. Anyway,
there you go.
Interesting, huh? The Magnar sent a dozen men riding west and a dozen more east to climb the highest hills they could find and watch for any sign of rangers in the wood or riders on the high ice. The Fens carried bronze-banded war horns to give warning should the watch be sighted. The other wildlings fell in behind Jarl, Jon, and Ygritte with the rest. This was to be the young raiders' hour of glory.
Hey, the war horn that Sam finds, or they find, is it bronze banded?
The war horn that Sam finds? I don't know.
Yeah, that was there with the cachet of.
I don't know if it's just plain or what. I think it's just plain.
Oh, thank you, Mother. Well, I mean, that would kind of indicate the age if it was done with bronze.
Sure.
Or if it was done with iron.
I don't know if it's even mentioned.
Or yeah. The type of steel used would probably indicate the bronze age, the iron age.
I kind of thought it was supposed to be just sort of a plain old horn.
Plain one? Okay.
Probably without even, I don't know. That's just my memory. Who knows?
Yeah, it just popped in my head.
Pod's asking if you're going to do a video on Saturday.
Oh wait, the 30th? Oh, that is a Saturday. No, I cannot do that on Saturday. I am doing a one-off Christmas D&D uh, campaign with the book club Discord. So I do apologize, Mother, but I can do one the day before and wish you a happy birthday if that's okay with you.
All right.
Thanks for the reminder, Pod.
The Magnar sent a dozen men riding west and a dozen more east to climb the highest hills they could find and watch for. Oh, I already did that. Yeah. Notice it says this was to be the young raiders' hour of glory. Yeah, things never go as according to plan.
Yeah.
The wall was often said to stand 700 feet high, but Jarl had found a place where it was both higher and lower. Before them, she would love it for the
Okay.
day before her birthday. Before them, the ice rose sheer from out of the trees like some immense cliff, crowned by wind-carved battlements that loomed at least 800 feet high, perhaps 900 in spots. But that was deceptive, Jon realized as they drew closer. Brandon the Builder had laid his huge foundation blocks along the heights wherever feasible, and hereabouts the hills rose wild and rugged. He once heard his uncle Benjamin say that the wall was
Hey,
a sword.
before you go any further, Brandon the Builder had laid his huge foundation blocks along the heights wherever feasible. And that doesn't mention ice as the foundation blocks. It just says blocks. So that
Sure.
gives credence to the theory that the foundation.
Or the Blackstone or something.
Yeah.
Sure.
I also like that the foundation could possibly be um, also weirwood. That the old face in the black gate
And of
actually
course,
stretches the entire length of the.
I think there's an ice dragon inside.
Yeah, I know. I do too.
He had once heard his uncle Benjamin say that the wall was a sword east of Castle Black, but a snake to the west. It was true. A snake to the west. That sounds like a dragon. Anyway,
Yeah.
sweeping in over one huge humped hill, the ice dipped down into a valley, climbed the knife edge of a long granite ridgeline for a league or more, ran along a jagged crest, dipped again into a valley deeper still, and then rose higher and higher, leaping from hill to hill as far as the eye could see into the mountainous west. Jarl had chosen to assault the stretch of ice along the ridge. Here, though the top of the wall loomed 800 feet above the forest floor, a good third of that height was earth and stone rather than ice. The slope was too steep for their horses, almost as difficult to scramble as the fist of the first men, but still vastly easier to ascend than the sheer vertical face of the wall itself. And the ridge was densely wooded as well, offering easy concealment. Once brothers in black had gone out every day with axes to cut back the encroaching trees, but those days were long past, and here the forest grew right up to the ice. The day promised to be damp and cold, and damper and colder by the wall beneath those tons of ice. The closer they got, the more the Thens held back. They've never seen the wall before, not even the Magnar, Jon realized. It frightens them. In the Seven Kingdoms, it was said that the wall marked the end of the world. That is true for them as well. It was all in where he stood. And where do I stand? Jon did not know. To stay with Ygritte, we need to become a wildling, heart and soul. If he abandoned her to return to his duty, the Magnar might cut her heart out. If he took her with him, assuming she would go, which was far from certain, well, he could scarcely bring her back to Castle Black to live among the brothers. A deserter and a wildling could expect no welcome anywhere in Seven Kingdoms. We'd go look for Grendel's children, I suppose, but they'd be more like to eat us than to take us in. The wall did not awe Jarl's raiders, Jon saw. They've done this before, every man of them. Jarl called out names when they dismounted beneath the ridge, and 11 gathered round him. All were young. The oldest could not have been more than 5 and 20, and 2 of the 10 were younger than Jon. Every one was lean and hard, though. They had a look of sinewy strength that reminded him of Stone Snake, the brother of the half-hand had sent off afoot when Rattleshirt was hunting them.
Hey.
So the
okay.
last 2 references to Stone Snake are in this chapter.
Mhm.
Go ahead.
The would the fact that all of them being young is that people who repeatedly climb the wall eventually die?
That's possible. It's also that's a good thought, right? I mean, that's kind of, if you've ever seen the movie, what is it, Free? What's that? What's the movie about the guy that climbs without ropes and stuff?
I have no idea.
I can't remember what it's called. There's a National Geographic film about some of the people that do this, and he was like the first to scale Yosemite.
Mhm.
That and it's about his climb. And Anyway, one of the people in that movie has since died, which is not surprising. They don't live very long. when you
Yeah, well, I
when you
mean,
rock climb without ropes and stuff, you don't live very long.
when you
Um,
get addicted to adrenaline, eventually that addiction is going to cost you
yeah,
ultimately.
yeah. And so that's a good thought. It's also I think he wants people that are experienced. It could be that there are some that are older and climbing, but that he wants young and healthy people on this one. I mean, he's handpicked his 11 best basically.
Well, also once they get on the other side, eventually they're going to have to fight Castle Black. So
Sure, you want
yeah,
fighters, yeah.
yeah.
So anyway, this is the last. This is the second to last reference of Stone's Lake. The last one's in this chapter as well. I'm guessing that he gets pulled from the Weeds of Winter if we ever actually get the Winds of Winter,
Mhm.
but who knows? Anyway,
Hey, I
in
got
the
my
very
fingers crossed.
the fact that he wasn't mentioned at all in Dance makes me think that he might not be coming back.
Yeah.
In the very shadow of the wall, the wildlings made ready, winding thick coils of hempen rope around one shoulder and down across their chests, and lacing on queer boots of supple doeskin. The boots had spikes jutting from the toes, iron for Jarl and two others, bronze for some, most often jagged bone. Small stone-headed hammers hung from one hip, a leathern bag of stakes from the other. Their ice axe were antlers with sharpened tines, bound to wooden hafts with strips of hide. The 11 climbers sorted themselves into 3 teams of 4. Jarl himself made the 12th man. Mance promises swords for every man of the first team to reach the top, he told them, his breath misty in the cold air. Southern swords of castle forged steel. And your name and the song I'll make of this, that too. What more could a free man ask? Up, and the others take the hindmost.
Hey,
The others take. Go ahead.
uh, I think the reason that he falls is to free Val up. If he's still
Oh, sure.
alive, and with Val, I mean, it
Oh,
complicates
sure.
things.
Oh, but you're thinking that the old gods could literally have caused. I mean, if we believe gods can change the wind, why couldn't they literally cause the ice to fall? Okay, I'll buy
Yeah.
that. The others take them all, thought John as he watched them scramble up the steep slope of the ridge and vanish beneath the trees. It would not be the first time wildlings had scaled the wall, not even the 101st. Patrols stumbled on climbers 2 or 3 times a year, and raiders sometimes came on the broken corpses of those who had fallen. Along the east coast, the raiders most often built boats to slip across the Bay of Seals. In the west, they would descend in the black depths of the gorge to make their way around the Shadow Tower. But in between, the only way to defeat the wall was to go over it. Many a raider had. Fewer come back, though, he thought with a certain grim pride. Climbers must of necessity leave their mounts behind, and many younger, greener raiders began by taking the first horses they found. Then a hue and cry would go up, ravens would fly, and as often as not, the Night's Watch would hunt them down and hang them before they could get back with their plunder and stolen women. Jarl would not make that mistake, John knew, but he wondered about Stir. The Magnar is a ruler, not a raider. He may not know how the game is played.
Hey, I
There they
wonder
are.
why Mance Raider uh, doesn't let anybody know about the Black Gate.
Hmm, I don't
Because
know.
he used it. He uses it to go back and forth
That makes
uh,
sense.
from the wall, but he's trying to help the
That's logical.
wildlings get south, but he does not tell them about the Black Gate.
Well, it could. hmm. You think I mean, I kind of assumed that he was actually climbing himself, but
No,
yeah, that's a good
I think
idea.
it's a whole lot quicker and easier for him to just
Yeah,
go through the Black Gate.
yeah, that's possible.
And I mean, I don't think it actually has to be a Brother of the Night's Watch. I just think it
You
has to
just can't be
be
dead. Yeah.
the words that are said to the gate itself that would
Well,
cause it to
and you
open.
have to not be dead.
Yeah, that too.
There they are, Egret said, and John glanced up to see the first climber emerge above the treetops. It was Jarl. He found a sentinel tree that leaned against the wall and led his men up the trunk to get a quicker start. The wood should never have been allowed to creep so close. They're 300 feet up and they haven't touched the ice itself yet. He watched the wildling move carefully from wood to wall, hacking out a handhold with short, sharp blows of his ice axe, then swinging over. The rope around his waist tied him to the second man in line, still edging up the tree. Step by slow step, Jarl moved higher, kicking out toeholds with his spiked boots when there were no natural ones to be found. When he was 10 feet above the sentinel, he stopped upon a narrow, icy ledge, slung his axe from his belt, took out his hammer, and drove an iron stake into a cleft. The second man moved onto the wall behind him, while the third was scrambling to the top of the tree. The other two teams had no happily placed trees to give them a leg up, and before long the Thens were wondering whether they had gotten lost climbing the ridge. Jarl's party were all on the wall and 80 feet up before the leading climbers from the other groups came into view. The teams were spaced a good 20 yards apart. Jarl's four were in the center. To the right of them was a team headed up by Grig the Goat. His long blonde braid made him easy to spot from below. To the left, a very thin man named Eric led the climbers. So slow, the Magnar complained loudly as he watched them edge their way upward. Has he forgotten the crows? He should climb faster, before we are discovered. Jon had to hold his tongue. He remembered the Skirling Pass all too well and the moonlight climb he made with Stone Snake. There's our last reference to Stone Snake in the series.
Okay.
He'd swollen his heart a half dozen times that night, and by the end, his arms and legs had been aching and his fingers were half frozen. And that was stone, not ice. Stone was solid. Ice was treacherous stuff at the best of times, and on a day like this, when the wall was weeping, the warmth of a climber's hand might be enough to melt it. The huge blocks could be frozen rock hard inside, but their outer surface would be slick, with runnels of water trickling down and patches of rotten ice where the air had gotten in. Whatever else the wildlings are, they're brave. I'm sorry about that.
That's okay.
Yukon Cornelius vibes.
That would probably mean that they don't climb the wall in any other season other than approaching winter, or slightly leaving winter before spring's full on, because that way the wall's not weeping.
Yeah, sure. Or at least it would be easier to do anyway.
Yeah.
All the same, Jon found himself hoping that Stur's fears proved well-founded. If the gods are good, a patrol will chance by and put an end to this. The gods are rarely good. No wall can keep you safe, his father had told him once as they walked the walls of Winterfell. A wall is only as strong as the men who defend it. The Wallings might have 120 men, but 4 defenders would be enough to see them off, with a few well-placed arrows and perhaps a pail of stones. No defenders appeared, however, not 4, not even 1. The sun climbed the sky and the wildlings climbed the wall. Jarl's 4 remained well ahead till noon, when they hit a pitch of bad ice. Jarl had looped his rope around a wind-carved pinnace, and was using it to support his weight when the whole jagged thing suddenly crumbled and came crashing down, and him with it. Chunks of ice as big as a man's head bombarded the 3 below. They clung to the handholds, and the stakes held, and Jarl jerked to a sudden halt at the end of the rope. By the time his team had recovered from that mischance, Grig the Goat had almost drawn even with them. Eric's 4 remained well behind. The face where they were climbing looked smooth and unpitted, covered with a sheet of ice melt that glistened wetly where the sun brushed it. Grig's section was darker to the eye with more obvious features. Long horizontal ledges where a block had been imperfectly positioned to top the block below. Cracks and crevices, even chimneys along the vertical joins, where wind and water had eaten holes large enough for a man to hide in. It's kind of hard for me to believe that you could actually still tell that there were blocks that formed this wall. It's kind of, anyway.
I mean, there's magic there, so I mean.
Sure. Jarl soon had his men edging upward again. His 4 and Grig's moved almost side by side, with Eric's 50 feet below. Deerhorn axes chopped and hacked, sending showers of glittery shards cascading down onto the trees. Stone hammers pounded stakes deep into the ice to serve as anchors for the ropes. The iron stakes ran out before they were halfway up, and after that the climbers used horn and sharpened bone. And the men kicked, driving the spikes on their boots against the hard, unyielding ice again and again and again and again to make one foothold. Their legs must be numb, Jon thought by the 4th hour. How long can they keep on with that? He watched as restless as the Magnar, listening for the distant moan of a Thenn war horn. The horn stayed silent, and there was no sign of the night's watch. By the 6th hour, Jarl had moved ahead of Grig the Goat again, and his men were widening the gap. The Mance's pet must want a sword, the Magnar said, shading his eyes. Mance claimed Jarl was Val's pet, but then again, it's kind of the case here that the Dornish and maybe the Reeds and the Mormonts remember females with leadership roles, and everybody else tends to forget about them.
Right.
Purge them from history, if you will. So it's kind of on brand here for the Magnar to ignore Val. The sun was high in the sky, and the upper third of the wall was a crystalline blue from below, reflecting so brilliantly that it hurt the eyes to look on it. Jarl's 4 and Grig's, and of course that's sort of a reference to Triple Targaryen's episode 1. Anyway, and the shirt. Anyway,
very good.
Jarl's 4 and Grig's were all but lost in the glare, though Eric's team was still in shadow. Instead of moving upward, they were edging their way sideways at about 500 feet, making for a chimney. John was watching them inch along when he heard the sound, a sudden crack that seemed to roll along the ice, followed by a shout of alarm. Then the air was full of shards and shrieks and falling men as a sheet of ice a foot thick and 50 feet square broke off from the wall and came tumbling, crumbling, rumbling, sweeping all before it. Even down at the foot of the ridge, some chunks came spinning through the trees and rolling down the slope. John grabbed Egret and pulled her down to shield her. One of the fens was struck in the face by a chunk of ice, by a chunk that broke his nose. And when they looked up, Jarl and his team were gone. Men, ropes, stakes, all gone. Nothing remained above 600 feet. There was a wound in the wall where the climbers had clung half a heartbeat before, the ice within as smooth and white as polished marble and shining in the sun. Far, far below, there was a faint red smear where someone had smashed against a frozen pinnace.
You
The wall
notice that
defends
the
itself.
wall tried twice to kill Jarl.
Yeah, yeah. That's a good point. I was thinking it was foreshadowing, but you're right. It's more like I need a bigger attempt here. Yeah,
Right.
I like that idea. I think you're right. The wall will defend itself, John thought as he pulled Egret back to her feet. Or maybe I should say, I think that's a correct interpretation, not that the alternative interpretation is necessarily incorrect.
There you go.
Maybe I think George has a preferred interpretation, and I think we as readers should have preferred interpretations. And I do like your interpretation.
Thank you.
They found Jarl in a tree, impaled upon a splintered branch. Oh wait, did I say the wall defends the wall defends itself? John thought as he pulled Egret back to her feet. I may have said that. I don't know.
Yeah.
They found Jarl in a tree, impaled upon a splintered branch, and still roped to the three men who lay broken beneath him. One was still alive, but his legs and spine were shattered, and most of his ribs as well. Mercy, he said when they came upon him. One of the fens smashed his head in with a big stone mace. The Mandar gave orders, and his men began to gather fuel for a pyre. The dead were burning when Grig the goat reached the top of the wall. By the time Eric's 4 had joined them, nothing remained of Jarl and his team but bone and ash. I'm kind of surprised that they were willing to burn the dead here.
Yeah, I mean, that close to the wall, the smoke. Yeah. I mean,
they're worried about how long it's taking. They're worried, putting smoke right next to the wall like that. It seems really reckless.
Well, I mean, that might leave credence to how scared they are of not burning.
Yeah, absolutely.
A body. So yeah.
By the time Eric's team had joined them, nothing remained of Jarl and his team but bone and ash. The sun had begun to sink by then, so the climbers wasted little time. They unwound the long coils of hemp they'd had looped around their chests, tied them all together, and tossed them down one end. The thought of trying to climb 500 feet up that rope filled John with dread, but Mance had planned better than that. The raiders Jarl had left below uncast a huge ladder with rungs of woven hemp as thick as a man's arm, and tied it to the climber's rope. Eric and Grig and their men grunted and heaved, pulled it up, staked it to the top, then lowered the rope again to haul up a second ladder. There were 5 altogether. When all of them were in place, the Magnar shouted a brusque command in the old tongue, and 5 of his fens started up together. Even with the ladders, it was no easy climb. Egret watched them struggle for a while. I hate this wall, she said in a low, angry voice. Can you feel how cold it is? It's made of ice, John pointed out. You know nothing, Jon Snow. This wall is made of blood.
Blood magic.
Like Mira with the mountains, the free folk have a love-hate relationship with the wall. They want it to protect them from the other when they're on the other side, but they certainly hate it right now.
Yeah, I mean, this wall is made of blood. I mean, blood magic is what created it.
Right, absolutely. I do think that's part of what's being implied.
Yeah.
Nor had it drunk its fill. By sunset, 2 of the fens had fallen from the ladder to their deaths, but they were the last. It was near midnight before John reached the top. The stars were out again, and Egret was trembling from the climb. I almost fell, she said with tears in her eyes. Twice, thrice. The wall was trying to shake me off. I could feel it. One of the tears broke free and trickled slowly down her cheek. Now, if that's true, then that could be further indicating that there's an attempt to sort of have Jon and Val available for each other.
Right. Yeah, I like that. Yeah.
Yeah. The worst is behind us, Jon tried to sound confident. Don't be frightened. He tried to put an arm around her. Egret slammed the heel of her hand into his chest so hard it stung even through his layers of wool, mail, and boiled leather. I wasn't frightened. You know nothing, Jon Snow. Why are you crying then? Not for fear. She kicked savagely at the ice beneath her with a heel, chopping out a chunk. I'm crying because we never found the Horn of Winter. We opened 100 graves and let all those shades loose in the world, and never found the Horn of Jormund to bring this cold thing down. Or did they? Up next, Storm 31, Jamie 4. Lord Bolton is very fond of leeches.
Somebody found the horn.
Yep.
Yeah,
Of course,
somebody found that horn for
Mance
sure.
claims that he was hiding from Egret and Jon, that he had the horn. So, anyway.
Yeah. No, you kind of froze on my side.
Yeah, I feel like there's a
All right, you're
little
back.
bandwidth issue here.
Yep. It's a short chapter.
Yep.
When I was flipping through and I saw the end so quickly coming up, I'm like, do we get to see Jon climbing in this chapter? I mean, we're running out of room, and then it was a real quick Jon and Egret up the wall to the top.
Yep. They never show him go back down the other side, but yes.
Yep. Is that on the next chapter, or they skip it?
No, I just skip it. I'm pretty sure.
Okay. Ooh, excuse me.
I mean, they've got 5 ladders. They can pull up and throw them down the other way.
Yeah. I don't know. I just don't see that wall taking that long to climb.
700 feet?
Well, it's not 700 feet where they're climbing from.
Well, that's true.
And I mean, they're on a ladder.
Well, yeah.
If it is blood, how come?
If it was blood magic, how come the wall isn't red? I mean, not all the dragons were awoken through blood magic, and they're not all red.
Yeah, I don't know.
Blood magic doesn't necessarily turn things red.
Yeah, you quit being like that, Pod.
Although I do think the weirwood sap and the weirwood leaves are sort of implied to be from the blood magic.
Well, I mean, there is a lot that goes on with the blood in this book, whether it's regular blood, whether it's the black blood. I mean, the congealed blood in the hand of cold hands. I mean, there's definitely a lot going on as far. And Lady Thistle thinks that the magic comes from a single source, I think, but I think it is, if that's true, it is the blood that allows different people to access it. And I think she believes, and I tend to agree too, that power resides where men believe it resides. So if you believe you have the power, then you have the power. But I do believe there are those that just, regardless of what they believe, just like the Stark children, they didn't think that they were wargs.
Sure.
It was in their blood to access that. But
sure.
Others would actually have to use the power of belief to accomplish similar feats, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, and maybe the weirwoods kind of store some of that blood magic too, right? So if you have access to the weirwoods, you might be able to do a lot more.
That might be why the sap and leaves are red, is they store all the blood magic that's ever happened.
Right. That's what I'm wondering is
And then also you have the black and blue trees storing that kind of magic, that kind of blood magic, that black blood magic, that has ever happened. I mean, for a little teeny tiny rabbit hole.
Yep.
Shout out to Girl Nettles. They did a live stream yesterday, and she had said something, and I had to go. I didn't know if she had read my quote or anything. Lady Thistle might know, or my question. She had mentioned that the strength and durability of dragon bone and all that stuff, and she's wanting to know why somebody didn't make a sword made out of dragon bone. And my question was, the reference to dragon steel that is found at Castle Black. Everybody's thinking steel. What if that is actually a sword made from dragon bone? And I think it's Master of Tinfoil had mentioned that the reason dragon bone is so durable is the high iron content. And we also know that the White Walkers do not like iron, not even the iron in our blood. So a sword made from dragon bone that is high in iron content, and dragons are fire made flesh. If obsidian glass can retain its fire powers, and White Walker's bones can melt, mimicking the rest of the body, then if a dragon is fire made flesh, wouldn't their bones possibly retain that fire magic that would cause harm to the White Walkers? If that makes any sense. I don't know if it was too much all at once.
Yeah, think so. Okay. What's the name of the um uh, uh, Riasudo, Riasado, whatever it is. The Japanese meteorite swords. But
Oh, I
the
don't know.
legendary Japanese meteorite swords, Ryuseito is the Americanized spelling.
Well, even Excalibur was
Well, I was just thinking that my understanding is that in addition to Damascus steel, the swords that are actually made out of meteorites are also
extremely
unusually good, high
well. They're
quality.
high iron content, and they're
Right, exactly.
extremely difficult to work with. They will shatter and break during the process if it's not done right. Just like um, the Lightbringer.
Right, right. And then
Who's that?
to Mariah says the others have blue blood and their bones are pale like milk glass, similar to the Dane sword Dawn. The way for the Dawn may be about that sword. Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, Devoted. Nice
Yeah.
of you to
Good to
drop
have you
by.
here.
We appreciate it.
Absolutely.
I don't know if you're here from the beginning. This will be the last live stream until next year. But I am going to try and get with Lizzie and do a Tenfold Theory video live stream next Friday because Mother is
If that's the sword that contains Nissa soul, the others may want to free her. Oh, it's an interesting idea.
yeah, I like that.
I'll be excited to see you guys. All right, cool.
But yeah, I'm gonna try to do a theory video
watch
next
that video.
next Saturday or next Friday. Sorry.
I'll get to watch that
Saturday,
video. That'd be nice.
Yeah. You got anything else?
Nah, I think like you said, it's a short chapter.
Yeah, very short chapter. But yeah, like everybody, regardless, happy holidays and Merry Christmas to those that celebrate Christmas. I'm not trying to be a jerk or anything. But whatever you celebrate, if you celebrate, I hope you have a happy one. Stay safe, have fun, be with family, be with friends, and we appreciate y'all very much. And this will be the last live stream with Richard for this year, so
Yep.
I might shed a tear.
Raise a cup of kindness to me. I'll raise a cup of kindness to you.
There you go. Happy winter festival times. I like that, Nate.
Raise a toast to the good old days and to old friends and acquaintances, and that's the spirit of Old Lang Syne.
Yeah.
But of course, historically, the old gods were all celebrated on the solstice, which was typically done several days after the actual solstice, because you're celebrating the visible return of light to the world. Hence the December 25th it's not an accident. That's basically about the time when historically God's birthdays were celebrated. So whether you worship the old gods and the new, season's greetings. Where's the green barn? You need an absolutely epic toast.
Yeah, there you go. All right. We like I said, we appreciate y'all, and we thank y'all for joining us. I mean, we only get a couple, but another shout out to Lady the girl Nettles. Please go check out her live stream. I don't know how to link anything on here, but yes, it was yesterday's live stream. From what I called of it, it was pretty cool. But okay, if you're here next Friday for a theory live stream, I'll see you then. If not, I will see y'all next year. Have a good one.
Happy New Year.
Have a good one, Richard.